this was supposed to be my book launch week for Fall of the House of Byron. It is here, it's big, it does exist. I know lots of you bought tickets to come and hear me speak about the family's exploits or sexploits, which is a word that my nan has just learned thanks to one recent review, and I didn't want you totally to miss out, so I'm just being a bit creative about it here. Tonight I was supposed to be talking at Nottingham Waterstones, so while I can't come and meet you all and say hello and answer your questions, I just wanted to share one of my favourite bits of local research. Nottinghamshire has been linked to the Byrons ever since the family first came to England around the time of the Conqueror, and one particularly persistent Sir John Byron managed to charm Henry VIII into giving him the gorgeous Newsted Abbey just a few miles outside of the city. Once we're allowed to go outside again, I highly recommend that you visit. The grounds and the house are just beautiful, and you get to try on 18th century outfits, so what's not to like? Today I wanted to take a look at a local, really quite ordinary man who's nevertheless become very dear to my heart. That's Joseph Murray, or Old Joe as he came to be known in the time of the poet. But obviously he wasn't always old. He arrived to take up a job at Newsted Abbey in around 1755 when he was in his early 20s, and this was to work as a sailor boy manning the replica fleet of warships commissioned by William V Baron Byron. But he was still there in 1798 when the 10-year-old poet inherited from his wicked great-uncle. He was a devoted servant, guide and purveyor of fantastical tales about the old Byron family, and he was even labelled a walking and living legend of Newsted by one visitor. Now, until now, his personal life has been entirely neglected, but he did have a wife and several children living in the neighbouring village of Papelwick. He married Anne in around 1760, and they went on to have at least 3 daughters and 6 sons, including the extravagantly named Jehoshaphat Peacock Murray, also known as Jasper, who I obviously just wanted to name check. Apologies for the half a dog in the picture, but there is a thunderstorm happening outside and he won't get off. As the children grew up and forged ahead in their own lives, Joe earned a reputation for jovially hanging around in the servants' hall at Newsted, smoking his pipe and reportedly getting told off by the housekeeper for singing bawdy stories. He certainly enjoyed a drink, and he considered the Abbey his own poor old Newsted. Anne sadly died in 1794, having apparently moved up to the Abbey in her later years, but the tough old Joe didn't join her in Papelwick Cemetery until 1820, having reached almost 90 years of age. One thing I absolutely loved reading was old Joe's letters to his employer and friend the poet, as George was off gallivanting abroad on his adventures. They're full of kindness, of prayers and amens, of apologies for having been a bit free with his lordship's port, and local news, including messages from his spurned lovers. In 1816, as the poet was about to leave England forever, old Joe wrote of an earthquake that sent Newsted into a shake and a totter. He continued, "It happened during divine service, and the shock was so great at Mansfield that the parson left his pulpit as fast as he could, the congregation all frightened to almost death, expecting the church every moment tumbling about their ears and burying them alive." The poet read this earthquake epistle with great amusement, and the two had a very fond relationship right up until old Joe's death in 1820, at which Lord Byron declared to his half-sister, "So Joe Murray is gathered to his masters, and as you say, the very ghosts have died with him. Newsted and he went almost together." So that is the port-glugging, bawdy tune-singing sailor boy and steward Joe Murray. He's a brilliant local figure and deserving of a bit more attention, in my opinion. Please check back tomorrow to see if I've managed to dig up anything Byronic in the next stop of my book tour, and that is the town of Retford.